The roles of the producer and the director, two of the most important roles in theatrical productions that most of us have no awareness of. When we go to the theater, we are looking at the performance. We look at the performers, we look at the stage, we look at the costumes, we look at the lighting. That's what the audience takes in. What we don't realize is what goes on behind the scenes. What happens prior to this show actually opening on Broadway? Two of the most important roles in any theatrical production are the roles of the director and the producer. In Broadway theater, producers are responsible for raising money and handling all of the business arrangements of the production. Long before that play opens on Broadway and the first audiences come in to see this performance, this production, producers are responsible for raising money to support, financially support that production. And this is support that has to be made along the way, even before the director is hired to direct the play. The producer has to raise enough money to make sure that production can go through rehearsals and make it to production day, make it to the play's opening. Producers are responsible for hiring, uh, managing contracts, publicity, promotion, rental of rehearsal spaces, um, any sort of out of town tryouts for the play. Sometimes plays are performed away from New York City for a short time just to test them out, to test the audience response to them. Producers have to organize that production outside of the city of New York and then make arrangements to bring it to the city and then open it in a Broadway theater. Nowadays, Broadway shows, non-musical shows, cost between $8 and $12 million to get up and running. And this is money that has to be raised before anyone is hired, before any announcement of the production is made. Producers are responsible for hiring directors, coordinating auditions, finding rehearsal space, and then securing or making sure that there is a theater for this production to be mounted in. Once a show is decided on, then the producer goes to work. The thing to remember about Broadway productions is that producers look for investors, people who want to invest in a production. It's just like investing in any business venture. You put up some capital in hopes that this business, this production, will be successful and you can then get a return on your investment. Um, Now, that's on the professional level. When you think about a producer on that level, chances are these are production companies who are responsible, whose focus is raising money and providing money for these productions to move forward. On the non-professional level, the producer's responsibility is slightly different. While they are all responsible for raising money for the production, on the non-professional level, we are looking at theaters that are nonprofit. Nonprofit theaters are not theaters where investors invest in the production expecting a return on that investment. In nonprofit theaters, we have individuals like you and me who make contributions to the theater to support the work of the theater. And that support comes through like charitable donations, ticket sales, support from granting organizations. Nonprofit theaters are able to receive grants from foundations like the Ford Foundation, the Duke Endowment. These philanthropic groups are focused on supporting the arts and supporting arts related programming for the country. But in the Broadway world, everyone is paid. This is professional theater. From the director to the actors to the dancers, choreographers, designers, everyone is under a contract for that production. And that contract specifically states how much they will be paid. It is the director's responsibility to coordinate all of this. Now, with a successful production, the play will hopefully run 6 months to a year. That's the goal. But suppose the play is not successful. After the first week of opening, the response is not as good as they had hoped, the audiences aren't as big as they had expected, and the show is not performing to the level that they had hoped and anticipated. It's the responsibility of the producer to make sure that no matter how the show progresses, whether they have audiences or not, that everyone who is under contract is still going to be paid. Now, when the show is successful, the plan is, the hope is that that play will become self-sustaining. That box office income will be enough to keep that show moving forward during its run. But a producer is responsible for raising enough money that will hold the show through rehearsals and into the first few months of the production being open on Broadway. It's a lot of money, and that's why the role of the producer in any type of arrangement, whether it's professional or non-professional, but specifically in the Broadway theater, this is why the role of the producer is so crucial and so important. When we talk about the role of the director is responsible for the artistic side of the production. They are the artistic head. If the producer is the financial head, the director is the artistic head. Producers usually have no contribution, actual real contribution to make to the artistic side of the production, except the fact that the money that they raise supports every artistic effort that happens connected to that production. A director is hired by the producer to direct a play. Now, the first thing the director is going to do is familiarize themselves with the play completely, read it over and over and over, because ultimately what they are going to decide on is how they want to tell the story. Remember, directors take the written text and translate that into spoken word and action. So a director makes that decision. How do I want to tell the story? Now, once they are decided on that way of storytelling, they will share this idea with everyone involved in the production. The producer has to approve of that decision in terms of the amount of money that it will cost. Producers are very concerned about the bottom line. And if the cost of the production looks like it's going to exceed what they originally planned to raise in terms of funds for the production, then things are going to have to change. And talks with the director might go on for a while, negotiating, trying to come up with a more workable solution. But once that decision is made and the plan is accepted, the director goes about sharing this vision with his supporting staff. And we'll talk about the roles of these supporting players a bit later, but in essence, it's important for the director to share the vision with his lighting designer, his set designer, the costumer, the properties builder, the choreographer, everyone involved in the production, ideally will be aligned with that director's vision. This is something that the German opera composer Richard Wagner, back in the late 19th century, decided that a successful production has to have a visionary, a leader. And it is the responsibility of that leader to provide unity to the production by sharing that vision clearly, effectively with everyone involved. Now, directors can approach the direction of a play in three ways. I'll be right back.